Hi everyone and welcome to my workshop. My name's Anthony and for the last year or so I've been building out my dream workshop space. So far on that journey I've added all sorts of things to my space, including router tables, mobile benches, miter stations and much more. Today I'm continuing that journey by replacing these temporary shelvings with this. A fully modular cabinet / work surface system that features drawers, floating shelves, and plenty of room for future mods and expansion. So follow along and see how it all came together. The concept for this build is simple enough. There will be a number of bases, 4 specifically, that will allow for different size modules to interlock or stack with each other. This will allow the modules to be interchanged, reconfigured, or removed completely based on future needs. This approach should give me the greatest flexibility, and should my needs change or need to be adapted to, I will be able to do that. I'm starting with the base, which will be constructed out of 2x4 pine shorts. Each base is going to be made up of 4 block feet and 4 stretchers. To get to the right thickness for the feet, I'll laminate 2 of the boards together. When I built my first workbench for the shop, I only owned enough clamps to do 1 laminate at a time. It's crazy to think that was just over a year ago. After a little bit of foosball clamping, I'll set these to the side and work on milling the stretchers. Some people find milling timber to be quite therapeutic, but I'm certainly not in that category. It's probably the least enjoyable thing that I do in this shop, but arguably the most important. With the boards planed and jointed now, I'll clean up the last edge over at the table saw. By this stage, the glued boards were ready to be milled as well. With the timber now milled for both the legs and the stretchers, we can cut it all to final length. First I'll cut the legs over at the table saw. And then the stretchers over at the miter saw. I once had a viewer comment that my videos were nothing but a giant Ryobi ad. So Ryobi, if you're watching, you owe me a lot of money. For me, as long as it's accurate and does the job, I don't really care what brand it is. The following section of video contains the use of a fez tool domino joiner and pocket holes, so viewer discretion is advised. The most expensive and irritating way to assemble the base frame is of course using dominoes. My original bench used pocket holes to put the frames together, and while I could easily do the same here, I did want something a little stronger just in case. I fully appreciate that this is an expensive tool, and it's not something that the modest workshop is going to have. I've shown in the past plenty of different ways to join pieces of wood together, so use the method that works for you. Each foot and stretcher will receive 2 dominoes. After a successful dry fit, we can proceed with cutting the tenon slots for the other pieces. In total there are going to be 4 bases, 2 large ones and 2 smaller ones. The larger base is effectively double the size of the smaller base. The domino's major strength is just how easy it makes assembling frames. It makes alignment a breeze and certainly speeds up the gluing process. But if dominoes aren't for you, then a very good substitute would be to use dowels. And in no time we have our bases all glued and ready to go. For the larger bases, I'm going to add some cross pieces for additional support. For the core cabinet assembly, I'm of course turning to that most versatile of products, Formply. The assembly isn't complicated, but it does need to be precise, otherwise each of the modules, when stacked on top of each other, won't meet up to the right height. And this was a good opportunity to once again use up as much of my off-cut Formply as I could. A common question that I'm often asked is, do you need a special blade to cut Formply? And the answer is absolutely not. Standard table saw blades will be absolutely fine, and unlike panels like melamine, which are prone to have chip out, Formply, even with a combination blade, will leave a nice clean cut. I want to keep the assembly non-permanent so that I can change, modify, or take out sections as my needs change. So to assemble, I'm going to use pocket holes only for this. Pocket holes are another one of those odd sticking points for woodworkers. Just like coriander, it seems that you either love it or hate it. I've never really understood why this most approachable of joinery systems sparks such a response. It's likely that I just haven't been doing this long enough to reach the man shakes fist at cloud levels of animosity. Regardless of which team you fall into, I would love to hear what you guys think. Are you pro or anti coriander? The key to getting good results when using pocket holes, is clamping. Pocket holes by nature will want to move the panels out of alignment, so you want to make sure that you clamp your pieces securely together. You can't, in my opinion, have too many clamps for this. Each module will get 2 brace pieces at the front and at the back. This will also provide points for what I'm calling module feet to reference when stacking with other modules. With a whole bunch of modules now assembled, it's time to apply some edge banding to cover the plywood edges. The strips I'll use for this are offcuts from the stretcher leg pieces. This step is really optional and you could easily leave the plywood edges as a feature. I'm now adding what I previously called module feet. These are inset by the same distance as the braces and will allow each module to lock into the below one when stacked on top of each other. It's not a complicated or sophisticated system, but as they say, sometimes it's best to keep it simple, stupid. A quick test shows how this system is going to work. With the cabinets assembled and edge banded, I'm going to install a few drawers now. I've shown the process of making and installing drawers in many previous videos, but here it is one more time, summarized in 20 seconds. Ready? Measure drawer sides, cut drawer sides, add a rebate to your sides, add a groove to each side, cut a bottom panel, assemble your drawer, add a few nails, install your drawer slides, install your drawer. Add your drawer face, add your drawer pull, and finally the secret ingredient.
The secret ingredient is... wow!
If you're after a bit more detail than that, then I do have this video which goes into more detail on the process of making drawers and cabinets. For most of the modules, I'm going with adjustable shelving. To drill the holes for the shelving pins, I just use a simple homemade jig. The jig is made up of a single strip of 6mm MDF with appropriate guide holes drilled at regular intervals over on the drill press. There are jigs on the market that you can buy to do this, but I find that this simple template doesn't take long to make and still produces pretty much the same result. The final step in the module assembly is to add a back panel, which is cut from standard 6mm MDF. The panel will provide lateral support so there won't be any racking, and obviously it'll also ensure that nothing falls out the back. Again, nothing complicated here. I'm only going to use some nails with no glue. With the back panel on, this makes for a very rigid and strong cabinet. Next are the adjustable shelves made from offcuts of the panel sides. These will get the same edge banding as the cabinet sides. Finally, we'll cut the panels for the workbench top. I didn't have wide enough pieces of form ply left to complete this, so rather than purchase more, I joined two sections together using dominoes. My table saw doesn't have enough capacity to cut the tops to final width, but the track saw will make short work of it. Well, that just about does it. We've got all our modules done. We've got our tops done and edge banded. We've got our shelves done, edge banded. Here are the rest of all the modules sitting here. And I guess the only thing left to do is to start putting it in. So for not the third or fourth time, we're going to have to pull these shelves apart, take all this stuff out and start assembling our cabinets. So I guess there's nothing left to say, but let's get on with it. Here is a perfect example of how going modular lets me change my mind. I didn't like the cabinet placement for this module and decided to switch them around. An additional advantage of such a system is that you can progressively build your cabinets as you go. This could be really beneficial to those who have smaller workshops that don't necessarily have the room to be building large cabinets in one go. Instead, you can break up the build into smaller ones that will allow you to work within the limits of your workshop size. The last thing on our list is to attach the tops. Nothing fancy here again, we're just going to screw directly into the cabinet top. With the assembly now complete, we can finally start populating our cabinet with tools and assorted items. Well, that pretty much finishes it, I think, or at least the majority of it is all done now. So I put my shelves in, started populating it with a few key items, some of my drill bits and whatnot. So that's all within easy reach now of the drill presses. So really happy with that. Overall, I'm really glad I went with this design concept of this modular type approach. I think it will make future expansion or modification much easier, as well as making it more flexible. So I'll be able to adapt it as I see fit. So I can see in the future, you know, taking out a middle panel, such as here, maybe putting in a miter station or miter saw, or modifying all of this so that I can really adapt to whichever tools I get in the future. So that's really important to me, because obviously as a beginner or intermediate beginner, you know, you don't really know what it is you need until you need it. So I want to be able to adapt this as I go along and change my configuration as I see fit. So really happy with the way that it's turned out. And I guess that's it for now. So I think in the future, we'll look at doing something above here and maybe doing some other unique modulars in here. But other than that, I think it's we can call this a success. So as per usual, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Oh, and before I forget, for the record, I really hate coriander.